I remember when South Park The Stick of Truth came out. Before it, every South Park game I can think of was absolute garbage. So the expectations were naturally low. When the game turned out to be great, people were surprised and it was a smashing hit. The Fractured But Whole is entering a very different playground now. The expectations are naturally very high. Not only must the game be fun to play, but it must also be extremely funny and not shy away from anything in order to get those laughs out of its audience. In order to determine if the game did manage to tick all the right boxes, we have to take a look at the pros and cons, and as per usual, I will start with the negatives. The game continues the story of the previous one to some extent. While in the previous game everything was about medieval fantasy heroes, now it's about modern day superheroes. The transition happens very smoothly and works really well. We're placed in the role of the new kid just like last time, and this is where we meet my first gripe. The protagonist is silent yet again. I have to admit, however, that this is the only game in which they have made it work by making the silence of the hero something that bothers pretty much everyone around him, and it even gets people in trouble. While it does work well, I still think that giving the protagonist a voice would have added a lot more character and paved the way to even more jokes, so it's definitely a missed opportunity in my opinion. The game features quite a bit of QTEs, and as you may know, I'm not a fan of them. Most of them are not that big a deal, but from time to time you are forced to mash buttons like crazy, and that's where I absolutely draw the line. Still, most of these QuickTime events are absolutely unnecessary and could have simply been removed altogether. The game takes place in something of a 2D open world. You would think that with a world this limited there would be no bugs, but you would be wrong. I've actually encountered two more serious ones. Early on in the game my character would get stuck if I climbed a ladder in Cartman's backyard, which leads to one of the castle towers there. This is a non-essential location, so it can be skipped, but it seems strange that it was missed. Later on, right after a cutscene, the screen faded to black and never turned on again. I could hear my character move around, I got button prompts to interact with stuff, but screen did never fix itself. Luckily I managed to find a door at the end of the house and exited it, which then fixed the issue automatically since a new level was loaded. For reasons beyond my comprehension, the game does not natively support ultra-wide resolutions. There are simple ways of changing this, which makes the game run just fine on 21:9, so I have no idea why they did not just include it. The game came out this year, so this should not even be a topic we're discussing here. One can either modify the exe file with a hex editor or simply download a modified such file. Both solutions are quick and easy, and the game runs almost perfectly with only minor graphical side effects which are negligible. As an RPG, the game offers pretty much everything you're used to seeing in the genre. Lots of items, experience points, skills, quests, etc. And when it comes to the quests, I would have just loved to see a bit more of these nice side quests with a storyline rather than the ones involving you walking around and just collecting hidden items which you have to find over the environment. And since we're talking about collecting items, let's also mention the drop rates in the game. Most drops are useless because you have already crafted or dropped a much better item much earlier on. A good RPG feeds you progressively better rewards at a steady pace. Here it felt like I would almost never get anything decent, and worst of all, at some point I would usually get a recipe for an item which would be much better than anything I will drop in the next 3 or 4 hours of gameplay, even though I would fight and defeat stronger opponents and would have leveled up by them as well. Drop systems are complicated to pull off, and since skill composition matters a lot more in this game than item levels, I consider this a minor offense, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. Another thing I did not enjoy so much was how the game would waste my time. While there's a fast travel system, at first there's a lot of stuff to do, and using the fast travel would usually make you miss out on things. There are environmental puzzles which involve interacting with your buddies in order to solve them. Those buddies are unlocked as you progress through the story. Oftentimes a puzzle will require several such helpers, and since there are many of these puzzles, I ended up visiting each of them several times since I kept forgetting what was where. Those same buddy assists I have mentioned are designed to waste time as well, since simply calling one over involves an animation in which the POW appears, a QuickTime event to make the POW do what you want, an animation in which the assistant does what he came to do, and then another animation in which he leaves. When you have seen all of those so many times, it gets rather annoying fast. The game took me 21 hours to complete, but it felt like about 20% of that time involved exactly such intentional time-wasting game mechanics. Lastly, on a personal note, I wanted to express my sadness about the fact that Cartman's girlfriend was not involved. There would have been a few laughs there as well, but let them have something for the next game after all. It's time to talk about all the things the game gets right. First of all, I want to mention the humor. The only other game that made me laugh as often as this one was its predecessor. South Park is one of the few franchises which can and will make fun of pretty much anything and anyone. What makes it so great, however, is the fact that the main characters are children. This opens the gates to even more jokes which are derived from the children's limited understanding of some topics and effectively doubles the humor in the game and the show. If you want to laugh, this game is definitely for you. The presentation of the game is also excellent. Clearly a lot of love was placed into it. We see almost every character from the series making an appearance. The voice acting is excellent, the music is awesome, and the game is full with inside jokes. Even the item descriptions are funny. The Fractured But Whole works on several levels. First and foremost, it's South Park, but it's also an RPG and as such does offer a very rewarding combat system, which has been improved and now features movement. This adds tactical depth and can make combat very challenging at higher difficulty levels, especially because it features special objectives such as avoiding being crushed by the giant ass of a black stripper. Crafting is another great classical RPG element in the game. It allows you to craft many items and is one of the most effective ways of acquiring some of the best gear in the game. Additionally, you do level up and unlock new character classes as you advance through the story. The game is a decent RPG even though all of its elements are very simplified. When it comes to the story, you can expect craziness all the way. When playing South Park, it's all about having a good time and laughing, and boy does the game deliver. Fans of the series will have a significant advantage since a lot of the jokes are better understood if you get their background. The references are all over the place and the game is overflowing with fan service. In the end, your enjoyment of the game will depend on your expectations. The Fractured But Whole is an RPG, but it's not Skyrim. If you're looking for awesome gameplay, great graphics, this will not be the right game for you. However, if you are a fan of South Park or are looking for a chance to see what the franchise is all about, this is as great a place to start as any other. Naturally, it would be advantageous to watch the show first, but it's not a requirement. Both the Stick of Truth and the Fractured But Whole are designed in such a way that you can play them in any order and will have no problem following the plot and laughing until your eyes tear up. It took me 21 hours to complete the game and I am left wanting for more. Let's hope for a nice and long story DLC and soon. This is the point at which I look at you, my viewers, and thank you for giving me your attention and watching my reviews. I hope I was entertaining and informative, and I'd be happy to hear from you in the comments section. Have a great day. So thanks for watching and have a great day.